Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
This is Chase Longmiller from the Sheboygan Fire Department, and you are listening to Dr. Richard Gasaway on SA Matters Radio. The SA Matters mission is simple. They want to help us see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hello and welcome to episode 85 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence environments. The SA Matters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes. I'm coming to you today from Phoenix, Arizona, where the Situational Awareness Matters Tour has stopped to deliver 2 programs for the International Association of Fire Chiefs Company Officer Development Symposium. Thank you to the IAFC for this wonderful opportunity to present this important message to the fire departments in the Phoenix metropolitan area. This is the first time the SA Matters Tour has made a stop in Arizona, so I'm really excited to be here. Normally I do the housekeeping items at the end of the show, but I'm going to mix it up a little bit today and do them on the front end. And then I'll get into the feature segment talking about what situational awareness is and why it matters. Following a telephone conversation with a critical care nurse who was asking me some questions about situational awareness, I came to the realization it's been a long time since I went back to the basics. In fact, it hasn't been since episode 1 that I have shared what I'm going to share with you today. So please hang with me through the housekeeping stuff. It'll only take a few minutes. If you haven't subscribed to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show podcast, please consider doing it on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. You find it at SA Matters Radio. SA Matters Radio is what you search on iTunes or Stitcher. And while you're there, please consider leaving some feedback on the show. And if you like the show, give it a 5-star review. This is really important because it inspires me to work harder for you. A lot of time and effort goes into podcasting: the recording, the producing, the editing the show, the script writing, the lining up the guests. Your feedback lets me know that you appreciate the show, and thank you for that. I'm running a holiday sale on the SA Matters books and videos. If you go to samatters.com/holiday sale, you'll find bargains ranging from 20 to 40% off on the books and videos. There's some great deals there, but the sale ends on the 18th. I'm super excited to announce the release of my 3rd book, the Situational Awareness Matters series. This book contains 30 lessons for improving first responder situational awareness and decision-making under stress. The book would make a great stocking stuffer, and right now it's 20% off on the holiday sale. If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss and would like to be interviewed on this show, I'd like to give you a platform to be able to share your lessons learned so that others may live. Please contact me by visiting the samatters.com site and clicking on the Contact Us link on the homepage. Think about how powerful that could be, sharing your lessons learned, and how many powerful lessons learned have been shared by the guests on this show. Last week's episode was a first for me, as I sat down and did a Q&A session with the crew from the County of Grand Prairie Fire Department in Alberta. Let me share with you how it was that I got the opportunity to do that with an on-duty shift, giving them and me an opportunity to have a very personal one-on-one session that was recorded into a podcast. A few months back, I received a tweet on my Twitter feed posted by Captain Jason Nesbitt, and included a picture of his crew and said the crew was gathered around listening to an episode of SA Matters radio podcast show for training. While I was so inspired by that, I immediately contacted Jason and offered to do a personal training session for his crew. They immediately jumped at the idea, and then I asked Jason if we could take the discussion and record it and make it a podcast episode, and they were all in. So there we were, recording the discussion with the County of Grand Prairie Regional Fire Service C Platoon. It was so cool. And now I want to extend that offer to other on-duty crews. All you have to do is post a picture of your crew on my Twitter or Facebook account feed with some positive or encouraging message about the importance of situational awareness. If I see it, I'll contact you and offer your crew a one-on-one training session that will become a future podcast episode. And it doesn't get any cooler than that for me, being able to offer such a personal and intimate training session for a shift crew. So if you're interested, go to my social media feed and post a picture of you and your crew with an encouraging situational awareness message. If you know of a business that might be interested in supporting the Situational Awareness Matters mission with a sponsorship, I'm seeking a few select sponsors to help offset the cost of running the website, social media, podcast, YouTube channel, the monthly newsletter, and all the other free content that I make available. The website has enjoyed over 1 million visitors who have downloaded over 4 million pages of content. New blog articles are posted every Friday. The newsletter, which is distributed to thousands of first responders free each month. The podcast that you're listening to, new episodes of the podcast come out every Tuesday. And there's been over 70,000 downloads of the podcast episodes. There's also opportunities to sponsor webinars and live events too. So if you know of any business that would like to get their message in front of my visitors, subscribers, and supporters, ask them to contact me through the samatters.com site by clicking on the Contact Us link on the homepage. Here's hoping we can pick up an additional sponsor or two to keep the free content flowing for you. And a special note of thanks to our sponsor, Midwest Fire, the first and currently only sponsor of this podcast show. Without your generous support, this show could not be offered. Before I jump into today's episode, I want to take a moment to thank the departments and the organizations that have hosted recent Situational Awareness Matters tour stops. Your efforts to bring this valuable and powerful training on situational awareness and high-risk, high-consequence decision-making to your members and others in your region are greatly appreciated. Recent programs have included the Managerial Association of Emergency Services, 2 programs, one in Bradenton and one in Northport, Florida. The International Association of Fire Chiefs Volunteer and Combination Officers Section Symposium in the Sun in Clearwater Beach, Florida. The International Association of Fire Chiefs Company Officer Leadership Symposium in Dallas, Texas. The MSTEP Conference in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Scott Township Fire Department in Evansville, Indiana. This being the 4th time the Scott Township Fire Department has hosted a tour stop, so a special note of appreciation to the administration and the members of Scott Township. And of course today, where I'm at in Phoenix, Arizona, for the International Association of Fire Chiefs Company Officer Development Symposium. If you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop, you can join me on December 14th at the SBM Fire Department in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota, December 27th at the Munhall Volunteer Fire Department in Munhall, Pennsylvania, December 28th the Peters Township Fire Department in McMurray, PA, December 29th the Swissvale Fire Department in Swissvale, PA, January 5 and 6 the Savage Fire Department in Savage, Minnesota, January 8 to 10 the Utah Winter Fire School in St. George, Utah, January 13th the University of North Carolina at Charlotte Fire and Emergency Services Leadership Institute. January 16th, the Iosco County Firefighters Association in East Tawas, Michigan. And January 23rd and 24th at the South Carolina Firefighters Association Winter Symposium in Columbia, South Carolina. If you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop, head over to the SA Matters website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage that says Upcoming Event Schedule. Here's hoping there'll be a tour stop near you and we'll get a chance to meet up. If you're interested in hosting a Situational Awareness Matters tour stop in 2016 for your department or association, contact me through the website and we'll get something set up for you. If you're not a member of the SA Matters community of learners, please consider joining. There are over 5,000 members connected on the SA Matters community, sharing ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to train members to be critical thinkers and resilient problem solvers. Membership's free, and when you sign up, I'll send you a special report that I've created for the new members called 25 Best Practices for Improving First Responder Safety. So if you're not a member, head over to the SA Matters website. Click on the red box on the right side of the home page that says Free Membership. Blue box for upcoming events, red box for free membership. And remember, every episode of the SA Matters radio show has a corresponding show notes page on the website as well. The most recent episodes all scroll on the home page, but for older episodes, go to samatters.com/ enter the episode number. I always mention that episode number at the beginning of the show. So, for example, if you want to access episode 60's show notes page, just open up your browser, samatters.com/60. That'll take you to the page that contains the link to that episode. The show notes page may contain additional information and resources about the episode, and depending on if I had a guest or not, it might include some incident scene pictures, video, and or audio, and the contact information for the guest. On the show notes page, you can always ask questions and leave your feedback on the episode as well. If you want to get connected with me on social media, you can follow at Rich Gasaway or at SA Matters on Twitter. The SA Matters Twitter community has more than 16,000 followers of our mission. And for all of those, I say thank you for the support and the engagement on Twitter. If you want to get connected with me on Periscope by following Rich Gasaway, I'll send out notifications for upcoming live video presentations on Periscope. You can also get connected on Facebook by joining the SA Matters private Facebook page. It's free. To do that, go to facebook.com/groups/SA Matters. I got a special deal going on there where I'm giving 50% off on the new book, which is different than the holiday sale. It's a bigger bargain. So if you want to get 50% off on the newest book, join the Facebook private group. On LinkedIn, you can search me by finding Rich Gasaway on LinkedIn. Thanks to everybody connected with me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I really appreciate your support there as well. Okay, that's enough housekeeping items. Let's jump into the feature segment where we're going to talk about what situational awareness is and why it matters. How big a deal is flawed situational awareness as a contributing factor to first responder near misses and casualty events? This is a question I often ask at the beginning of my programs, just to gauge where the audience mindset is, of understanding if it's a little deal, a medium deal, or a really big deal. Oftentimes there are a few people that know right away it's a big deal. And they say it's a really big deal. And I say, well, how do you know? Where's the proof? Where's the evidence that it's a big deal? Well, the evidence lays in the line of duty death reports, whether they're independently conducted or by state agencies or by NIOSH. Flawed situational awareness or contributing factors that lead to issues of situational awareness are often implicated in these reports. If you go to the near miss reporting system, nationalnearmiss.org, and look at the contributing factors for first responder near misses, you'll see among the 20 contributing factors to near misses that issues related to situational awareness is number one. consistently every year, the leading contributing factor to first responder casualties and near misses are issues related to situational awareness. The problem is, most first responders know next to nothing about what situational awareness is, how they develop it, how it erodes, how to get it back if it has eroded. If this weren't so tragic, it'd be funny that it's such a big contributing factor, and yet most first responders know next to nothing about it. Well, I want to dedicate this episode to our fallen comrades who suffered issues with situational awareness and maybe at the time didn't realize it. What is situational awareness? When I was doing my research, I came across 7 definitions for situational awareness, and I didn't like any of them. But once I was able to earn my terminal degree, I was able to create my own. And this is the one that I created that I think is very friendly to first responders. Situational awareness is your ability to perceive and understand what is happening in the environment around you in the context of how time is passing, because the passage of time is very important to the development and maintenance of situational awareness. And then in turn, being able to accurately predict future events, hopefully in time, to avoid bad outcomes. So let me put it all together for you. Situational awareness is your ability to perceive and understand what is happening in the environment around you in the context of how time is passing, and then in turn, being able to accurately predict future events, hopefully in time, to avoid bad outcomes. Now, what I would hope is when you're preparing for responding to, arriving at, sizing up, and operating at incident scenes, you would keep that definition in mind. Of course, that definition is a little large to keep in mind, so what I've done is I've focused on 3 key words of the definition: perceive, understand, and predict. So let's take each of those terms and break them down and talk about what it means to us as first responders when we're doing each of those phases. The development of situational awareness is like building a house. You start with a foundation, and then you build walls, and then you build a roof. You can't start with the roof, you have to start with the foundation. And the foundation for situational awareness is perception. Perception is a process of using your senses to gather information, or what I call clues and cues, about what is happening in the current environment that you're in. Some might call this paying attention, or some might describe it as keeping your head on a swivel, or looking up, down, and all around, or actively listening to the things that are going on around you and on your radio. It's where you'd be answering the question, so what is happening right now? Those who describe their situational awareness, when they say they have strong situational awareness, and they describe it by saying, I pay attention, or I keep my head on a swivel, they're not wrong, but they're simply describing just the beginning phase of situational awareness development, perception. How do we perceive our world? You have 5 senses. They're always turned on, always gathering information. Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling. All 5 of the senses reside on the outside of your brain. Eyes are on the outside, ears are on the outside, nose, mouth, skin that feels, all on the outside of the brain. As you look at something, photons of light come into your eyes. The nerves inside of your eyes take the photons of light, turn them into electricity, and send the electricity back into your brain. As you listen to somebody talk, as you listen to this podcast, sound waves come into your ears. The nerves inside of your ears take the sound waves, turn them into electrical impulses, and send the electrical impulses back into your brain. Your brain doesn't see anything. Your brain doesn't hear anything. The only thing that can be assessed by that 3-pound blob of clay is electrical impulses, Morse code. The brain can't see or hear anything. It can only make sense out of the electricity. You have 5 highways that this electricity travels down, one for each of the senses: a highway for vision, audible, smell, taste, and sensation. They travel down these 5 different highways, and then at some point that information has to come together. There has to be some point where the brain takes what you see, plus what you hear, plus what you feel, plus what you taste, plus what you smell, put it all together to form your understanding of what is happening. And that advances us to the second part of the situational awareness development continuum. Again, in building the house, perception is the foundation. Now we're to the walls. That is understanding. Understanding is the process of making sense out of the things that you see and hear and feel and taste and smell. Sometimes called comprehension. Sometimes called having a moment of clarity. Your aha moment. Just a moment ago, things didn't make sense to me. Now in comes one additional input of information, and all of a sudden, aha, now I understand. It's where you answer the question, so what does this mean? What do I see? What I'm seeing and hearing and feeling and tasting and smelling. What does it mean? And does it mean what I expected it to mean? Now, you would think that situational awareness development would be a pretty simple process. Perceive it, send it down the highway, and understand it. But some things can go wrong. And that can mess up our ability to understand the meaning of what we're seeing and hearing and feeling and tasting and smelling. You know very well that you can see things that you don't understand. And you can hear things that you don't understand. Sometimes we suffer from something called sensory conflict, where what we see and what we hear don't align. They're in conflict with each other. The eyes see A, but the ears hear B. Well, then the brain has to try to sort it out and figure out, well, which is it? Is it A or is it B? Is it what I see that is the truth, or is it what I hear that is the truth, because it's in conflict? To explain how this could happen in the form of an example, go to Bath and Body Works. When you go in there, they have the most amazing foaming hand soaps, and one of them that I like is one called Peach Bellini. They'll let you try it out. Go to the sink with the Peach Bellini hand soap. Close your eyes. Spray the hand soap on your hands. Rub your hands together. Smell it. Oh, it's going to smell just like a fresh cut bowl of peaches. Now, taste it. It's not going to taste like a fresh cut bowl of peaches. It's going to taste like acrid, nasty hand soap. This is an example of sensory conflict. Without the benefit of the eyes, because the eyes were closed, to see that it is actually hand soap, the brain depends on the other senses to fill in. The nose smells fresh cut peaches, setting the expectation that the taste buds are going to taste fresh cut peaches. But the taste buds don't taste fresh cut peaches. It tastes that acrid, nasty hand soap. This creates a lot of conflict and confusion in the brain, trying to figure out what in the world just happened. I had this full expectation that this was going to be the outcome of the tasting, and now it's something different, and the brain has to try to sort it out and figure it out. Sensory conflict serving as just one example of how the brain can get confused and how it can cause problems with situational awareness. So this information that travels down these 5 different highways for seeing, hearing, feeling, taste, and smell, there has to be some place where they come together to form the common understanding that becomes situational awareness. Some place where the puzzle gets put together. And there is a place where this happens, where the puzzle pieces all get formed together to form a snapshot picture of understanding. You see, everything you see and hear and feel and taste and smell gets formed into understanding in the brain as visual imagery. As I smelled the fresh cut peaches, my brain hearkened up the image of a fresh cut peach, a visual image based on a smell, a visual image based on taste. Everything that we see, hear, feel, taste, and smell gets formed into visual images, and then those visual images get put together like pieces of a puzzle. The puzzle forms the picture that becomes our understanding. Now, there are some puzzle pieces that we cannot see or hear or feel or taste or smell. And it's not because we're not paying attention. It's because those puzzle pieces don't exist. Non-existent puzzle pieces. They're called negative clues and cues. There are two kinds of clues and cues that we're gathering and assessing as we do our size up. The first are positive clues and cues. That's everything that you can see and hear and feel, taste, and smell, but hopefully not taste and smell too much. And then there's the negative clues and cues, those things you cannot see, hear, feel, taste, and smell because they're non-existent. They're not there. This is really important because experts are able to draw a whole lot of information and make a whole lot of sense out of the missing information. Take a novice and an expert and put them side by side in an incident scene. Ask the novice what's going on. The novice would say, well, I think this is the problem. I think this is what's going on. And you'd ask the novice, how do you know? And the novice would say, because I see this and I see this and I see this and I hear this and I hear this and I hear this and I take what I see and what I hear and I put them together. And when I put them together, this is my understanding of what is happening. Okay, very good. Turn to the expert and say, what do you think is going on? The expert has a completely different explanation, sometimes leaving the novice with a dumbfounded look on their face and maybe even thinking or saying, how did you come up with that? And the novice might say, well, I saw that and that and that you saw. And I heard that and that and that you heard. But I didn't see this and I should have. And I didn't see this and I should have. And I didn't hear this, but I should have. And I didn't hear this, but I should have. You see, in the mind of an expert, the missing information becomes a critical clue to form's understanding. And only experts can fill in this missing information based on past experience. So then what happens? Well, the snapshot, or the picture, the puzzle, gets put together and forms a photograph of understanding. That photograph is then snapshotted and sent up into memory, sent up into long-term memory. Why? What's the purpose of that? It's going on a hunt. It's taking the snapshot of the current situation and searching through long-term memory, trying to find solutions, trying to find pattern matches. And it is a pattern match because everything is stored as a visual image. So everything in the brain is a pattern to be matched. Searching, trying to find the patterns that match the current situation. As it's searching through the long-term memory stores, it could find a match, or it might not. As it's searching, it's a big search. The average person's long-term memory capacity, that's you and I, average people, is equal to about 10 times all the information currently stored on the internet. Think about how big your long-term memory stores are. That's a big search. Now, access to the information, that's a whole other story. The average person, that's you and I, average people, can only remember or readily recall about 5% of the long-term information stored in memory, which means the other 95% of the information stored in long-term memory is in a location that's outside of ready recall, outside of awareness. That information is called tacit knowledge. The tacit knowledge is the collection of all the life's experiences that we have that we don't have the ready recall of, but yet they're stored in there. The 5% that you can recall, that's explicit memory, easy to recall. Birthdays, your home address, a phone number. But there's so much more that resides outside of awareness. So the brain is searching, taking that photograph of information, searching, trying to find solutions, trying to find pattern matches. If it finds the pattern match, something rather exciting can happen. The brain can say, I found a solution, I found a match, and it sends an emotional message down to the part of the brain that controls emotional response. And it's excited. The brain is excited. I found a match. I found a solution. And when that happens, that can trigger the sixth sense. The sixth sense is the only sense that resides outside of the brain and sends the information. The sixth sense is the only sense that resides inside the brain and sends information outward. The other five senses reside on the outside of the brain and send the information inward. The sixth sense does just the opposite. What is the term for that sixth sense that resides on the inside of the brain and sends the information outward? We know it is intuition. What is intuition? The definition of intuition is rather odd. It's knowing without knowing how you know. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Knowing without knowing how you know. Intuition comes to us in the form of a feeling. The impending feeling of doom. The hair standing up on the back of your neck. The voices inside of your head telling you, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. And probably the most outward manifestation of intuition is the gut feel. Some people think the gut feel is psychological. It's not. It's biological. Those nerve impulses inside of the brain, that when they get excited and it sends those messages down those nerve impulses, they end in the abdomen. So that gutted, knotted up feeling in your abdomen is not psychological, it's biological. And it is your brain's single most powerful red flag warning system designed to alert you for danger and threat. And yet most first responders trudge right over it and completely ignore their intuition. And I understand why. We can share all the other five senses when they're in the presence of another person. We're in the presence of two people or more. You can see the same things. You can hear the same things. Smell and taste the same things. But the likelihood of you feeling the same intuitive response, the same gut feeling, or the same voices inside of your head saying something isn't right is extremely remote. It would mean that the experiences in the brain that were searched out and pattern matched were identical. And the chances of having two people with identical experiences and having the same intuitive response is pretty remote. So then you have one person who has the intuitive response with the gut feeling that says something isn't right. Do they have the courage to speak up and tell someone we need to leave because this is something isn't right? How do you know? Well, I just have a feeling. A feeling. Can you imagine how hard it is to defend your feelings? Especially in the moment of stress and consequence. It's very difficult. There's a lot of risk to speak up. There's a lot of fear that can come when you have to speak up. And a lot of first responders don't speak up. The third and most challenging part of situational awareness development, the roof of the house, so to speak, is prediction. Prediction is being able to anticipate the future events before they happen. We might call that forecasting or projection. It's where you'd answer the question, so where is this event going? And how long is it going to take to get there? When we're asking how long is it going to take to get there, we're speaking to the concept of speed. See, every incident unfolds at a certain speed. Buildings burn at a certain speed. People die at a certain speed. Some fast, some slow. The speed at which conditions are changing are critical to the development of situational awareness. So critical that it is part of the definition. You might remember that we said the definition was perceiving and understanding what is happening in the environment around you in the context of how time is passing. See, the context of passing time tells us a lot about the speed at which conditions are changing and how fast things are deteriorating. And the third question that we would ask in making the prediction is, can we change the outcome? Can we, with the resources that we have here and now, not the resources that are coming, the resources here and now, because we've got to make the decision to engage or not to engage. Can we, with the resources we have, the people, the water, the whatever, and here and now, change this outcome? If we can, we engage. If we can't, we don't engage. A lot of first responders don't give thought about whether they should engage or not. They arrive, size up, engage. It's almost automatic. There isn't even thought required. They're not thinking about the outcome, what the outcome should be based on their action, and can they actually change the outcome? Not every life is savable. I'm sorry that it's not. We train to save them. We want to save them. We take oath of offices to save people's lives, but we just can't save every life. Sometimes the conditions are such that there is no savable life. We need to ask ourselves, can we change the outcome? Then we use our imagination, or our mind's eye, sometimes the metaphor for the imagination, the eye inside the mind, to be able to predict and be able to see that future outcome before we engage. Looking and seeing the future, playing the movie ahead, and seeing the outcome before we engage. So let's sum it up. What is situational awareness? Sensory processing, inputs from the 5 senses, traveling down 5 different highways, landing on one common sketch pad, forming visual imagery of all the 5 senses, puzzle pieces put together, one common picture, snapshotted, sent up into memory, doing a memory search, 10 times all the information stored on the internet size memory search, searching both explicit memory, the 5% you can readily recall, and tacit knowledge, the 95% of memory that resides outside of awareness. Can sometimes trigger intuition and give us that intuitive feeling that something isn't right or is right. We won't always benefit from intuition, and sometimes intuition can be wrong. And then we use our imagination to forecast a future outcome. So that's the basic lesson of what situational awareness is and how it is developed. Well, that's it. Episode 85 is complete. Thank you for your patience as I front-loaded all the housekeeping items on this episode. I won't do that every time, I promise. But I have to mix it up every once in a while. Thank you to our sponsor, Midwest Fire. And thank you to all of our live event hosts. And thank you, our listeners, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I sincerely appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.